right, so I want to welcome you guys to your lesson for today. So today I'm fully focused on this topic in your syllabus known as classification. That's the first topic. The second topic. The first one is basically scientific processes. So we don't really teach that topic as much as required, but I will do that later because everything in that topic is just based on paper 3. For today, I just want to get into the real stuff. So what is classification? Classification is basically the grouping of organisms into groups according to their shared features. Or let me just write this down. Classification can be defined as the grouping of organisms, or you can say living things, of organisms. I have to apologize for the handwriting as well. According to their shared similar characteristics. Similar characteristics, or you can write the word features. Now, that's the first thing you need to know for this topic. You need to be able to define the term classification. Now, after that, you need to be able at least give 3 points on how scientists or biologists or anyone involved in science, how do we classify? This topic we focus on how we put the different ways in science how we can classify organisms or put them in groups. So this question is very common in your examination. They can ask you, name 3 or 4 ways usually 3. How do we classify organisms? Name 3 ways how scientists classify organisms. That's a subtopic on its own. Now, first of all, we classify organisms according to their fundamental structure. Fundamental structure has to do with the features outside. Fundamental structure based on their features outside. And second point, we classify organisms based on the position. This position, I'm talking about the position of the organs or the features outside, and how each feature on that organism develops, position and development. That's the second point. And the third and final point I'm going to give is we classify organisms according to their common ancestry roots. This has to do with the ancestors of the organisms. For example, a monkey, or let's say the apes and the human beings, they have a common ancestor, so that's why they are classified in the same group. Alright, that's the last and final thing. Now, when we are classifying organisms, we classify them and then we give them names. So that's where this next section of the topic comes in. So the next part of classification is known as let me quickly use my pen. This next part is known as the binomial naming system. Now, what is the binomial naming system? A binomial naming system is basically a system of naming organisms. So what happens is we name organisms by giving them a name consisting of two parts. Please take note of one thing. Naming system of naming system of giving organisms. Sorry, I got distracted. Giving organisms a two-part. Let me just make a two-part name. That means the name we give these organisms consists of two parts. The first part of the name represents the genus. The second part represents the species of the organism. Now, in your examination, it is very, very important to mention this one here. A two-part name. I'm not saying I'm giving the organism two names. I'm saying I'm giving an organism a name consisting of two parts, just like the name and surname. We all have names and surnames. That's the same thing we do here. We are not giving you two names. We are giving you a name consisting of two parts. That's what happens. That is what the binomial naming system is all about. It's all about giving an organism a two-part name, and this name is usually a Latin name consisting of two parts. The first part is the genus, the second part is the species. Now there are a few rules that you need to know how to write these scientific names. We have few rules on how you write the scientific name of an organism. So first of all, this one here, the genus, you always write it in capital letters. By capital letter, I mean the first letter of the genus name has to start with a capital letter. So for example, the scientific name of a human is a Homo sapien. All humans are called Homo sapiens. Do you notice that this one, the very, very first one, starts with a capital letter, whereas the second one starts with a lowercase letter? Those are the few rules that you need to consider. So another thing is the genus starts in a capital letter, but the species starts in a lowercase letter throughout. Another thing you need to know is that these two names here, as you are writing them, they need to be underlined separately, unless when you are typing, and when you are typing it should be typed in italics, but obviously in your examination you are not going to type anything. So the only thing you need to know is that the genus has to start with a capital letter, whereas the species starts with a lowercase letter. Okay, now let me do a few examples for you guys. Now, usually in your examination, I can provide you with a scientific name of anything, any living thing. For example, let's say a rat. Scientific name of a rat. A house rat, the common one that you know is Rates. We call it Rates. Rates. That's the scientific name of a rat. So here you are given a scientific name, and then they can ask you to identify the genus and species. Let's go back here. I said the genus. The first part of the name is the genus. The second part of the scientific name of an organism is known as the species. So in this case, the first one is this one. So that's the genus of a rat, and the species is this one. Now be very, very careful. Sometimes they can mix this up, and then they can ask you to write this name in order. For example, let me go back to, let's say, a tiger. A tiger in science we call it a Panthera tigris. That's the name of a tiger. So sometimes they can bring it up 10 things around, and then they ask you to write these names in order. So what you're going to do here, you're going to write Panthera first, and then Tigris after that. Then you underline each separately. Those are the rules of science. There is no, you don't question it, we just write it the way they are. Now, I hope that's clear. Now, the final thing under binomial naming system is to be able, how do I say this? So sometimes they provide you with a scientific name of any organism. It depends on the organisms. The names are a lot. And then let's say here in the example, they give you the name rat. And then they say using, first the question will be like this. The scientific name of a rat is Rates rates. Using this scientific name, define the term binomial naming system. Did you get the question? The scientific name of a rat is this. Using the scientific name of a rat, define the term binomial naming system. Now, the answer to this question, what are you going to do? You are going to write binomial naming system. First, you start with a term, you define the term. Naming system, or sometimes nomenclature, is a naming system. You write the definition first. It's a naming system. It's a naming system used in science web in which, or you can say in which, the scientific name of an organism consists of two parts. Scientific name of an organism consists of two parts. Or you can say a two-part consists of a two-part Latin name. Remember these names that we are using here, they are derived from the Latin language. Latin is a language. A two-part Latin name. And then you do that, and then you say the first part is a genus. The first part of the name represents the genus, the second part represents the species. Now, remember what is the question? The question is saying using the scientific name of a rat, which is this one, Rates rates, define the term binomial naming system, or what is meant by binomial naming system. So you are going to first you define this, and then after this you put in you put example. In this case, Rates is the genus of a rat. You put in brackets genus, and the other one you write the other one, Rates rates. Second one is the species, and that's how you answer that question. You are giving reference to the name that is provided for you in the examination. If I ask you, using this scientific name given to you, define the term binomial. First you define this, and then you use this as your example. Exactly as I wrote it down here. First I defined, and then at the end I said example Rates in this case. I'm giving reference to that one provided. Rates is the genus, and the other one, the second part of the name, is the species. Good. Now I want these videos to be as short as possible. I do not want to make them long. So that's the first part of classification. There is a part 2. I hope you guys understand. If you have any questions, please feel free to come back to me. So I'm going to send a screenshot of how they ask questions of a question paper related to this part of your syllabus.